Will your favorite NFL team make the playoffs in 2024? What's going on, football fans? It's Mitch here, back with another BLV NFL reaction video. And in this video, I react to none other than Uncle Colin Cowherd, and his 2024 playoff predictions. That's right, the teams that Colin Cowherd believes will make the playoffs in the AFC and the NFC. But before I react, my raw reaction to Colin Cowherd's updated predictions, Gronk spike the like button. If we get 100 likes, I will release the teams that I believe will make the playoffs in 2024. So let's get 100 likes on this video, and you'll get my predictions. Don't forget to subscribe for more NFL reactions just like this, including a lot more Colin Cowherd, and get in the comments and let me know your opinion on Colin Cowherd's predictions for 2024. Where is he right? Where is he wrong? Also, let me know what you think of this close-up cam. I moved my camera a little bit, so let me know your thoughts. Let's go, guys. Let's react to Colin Cowherd. Okay, Colin, let's hear it. What do you got?
I get two more. This is going to be one. I get two more opportunities before.
How many times do you predict the NFL standings, bro? Two more opportunities. You got one shot. One opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted. One moment.
Before the season starts. I'm going to do one on the Thursday before the opening NFL.
Thursday before the opening season? Reaction video? Let me know in the comments.
Game, I'm going to do one now. Is that I've watched the preseason. I'm reading like you everything, and I'm going to give you a sense of where I feel with my playoffs. So I've made a couple of
Okay, Colin.
changes, couple of minor changes, but they're changes, and I'll give you the reason why. So let's start with the AFC.
I just want to say one thing. I really like the demeanor by Colin in this video. He's taking this very seriously. He's very calm. He's very composed. He feels confident. Let's see. So the AFC East. He's got the Buffalo Bills in first, the Miami Dolphins in second, the Jets in third, the Patriots in fourth. I don't think he's really changed anything there. I don't hate those predictions. I could definitely see that happening. I think that's probably what a majority of the NFL fan base believes is going to happen. I would say that I think the Jets' high-end outcome could be winning this division, but I also truly do believe it's making the playoffs for sure. The way that Rodgers is throwing the ball in camp, just from the glimpses in joint practices, it looks very promising. So that makes me more secure on my Jets take for the season, which is I think they will make the playoffs. I do have the Bills favored in the division. I wouldn't be shocked if three of these teams did make the playoffs, considering the Patriots are arguably the worst team in the AFC, or they're at least one of them. They're in the bottom three, right? So it should be a pretty clear top three and a dogfight for that top spot. I think it will be decided by one game at the end, and I think giving the advantage to Josh Allen is not a bad idea. Let's see what Colin has to say.
I still feel it's Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Patriots. I know more about the Dolphins than I do the Jets. I know they'll be wildly productive on offense. Offense is...
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think they will be productive on offense for sure. As long as Tyreek is healthy, I think they'll be fine. And Tua is healthy, they'll be fine. But to me, the offensive line, the changes, the losses, I do think that's significant and not discussed enough about. I also think that the D-line will struggle early in the year. So it does kind of come down to, can they keep up those points early in the year? I will say their schedule is much easier and manageable early in the season. It gets much tougher later in the year, which also corresponds with Tua's play. He plays well at the beginning of the year. He plays poorly at the end of the year, mostly due to weather and things like that. But we'll see if Miami can hold up health-wise as well. They've had a lot of injury issues over the last couple of years because they continuously sign injured players like Teron Armstead. So we'll see if the Dolphins can hold up. I think that that's definitely a factor as well.
Carry over. If you don't make big wholesale changes, a good offense one year is a good offense the next year. It's not the same for D.
I think the X factor in this division is probably the Jets' offensive line. Can the Jets' offensive line hold up? Can they create lanes for Breece Hall to be explosive? And can they keep Aaron Rodgers healthy? That might be the X factor. Everyone expects the production to come from Breece and Garrett Wilson. And if Rodgers is on the field, he should be decent, right? At least decent, maybe even very good. The defense, everybody knows they're going to be great. But the offensive line is kind of that X factor unit of the entire division. I think we kind of know what we're going to get from the Bills. I know that they have kind of a new, fresh receiving core, so there are questions there. The defense, they did lose some veteran pieces. Matt Milano went down, so there are questions about their defense in some way, shape, or form. But it's still a Josh Allen, Sean McDermott team. We kind of know what to expect from Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, the Mike McDaniel attack with Tua there. We kind of know what to expect. But we don't really know what to expect from the Jets in terms of their offensive line and how that's going to allow them to play offense and be productive on offense and then complement that strong defense. So I think that's the X factor of the entire division.
Defense. Jets, Hassan Reddick's not in camp. Huff's gone. A lot of noise. I think it's Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Patriots. AFC North, I don't know if there's a great team. I'm out on the Steelers.
Ooh, he doesn't know if there's a great team. Interesting. So I disagree with this one. You guys probably know that already. I do favor the Bengals over the Ravens. If you guys want me to make my division predictions as well, let me know. The division winners video could certainly come out at any time. Comment below if you want to see that video. But I will be making my official predictions closer to the season, kind of like Colin does. But in terms of division winners, I could probably make that video anytime. So just comment if you want to see it. But the Ravens, the Bengals, the Steelers, the Browns, I don't hate this. I feel like the Browns and Steelers are pretty interchangeable. I think there's going to be some people that pick the Ravens, some people that pick the Bengals. I think the Bengals do benefit from the easiest schedule in the division by a wide margin. They also, in my opinion, do have a better offensive line than the Ravens, I think, going into this year, which is very unique for them because they don't usually have a good offensive line. I would say that Burrow is motivated. He should be really good this year. I love what I'm seeing from T. Higgins in camp. I think that the defense also, has been having good reports. I think they dominated the Colts in joint practices, so that's good to hear. Bengals defense was a little shaky against the run last year. But if they can, put together that talent that they've had in previous seasons, they do have a lot of chemistry. They have a chip on their shoulder. I think this is the Bengals division to lose, honestly. Just given the way that the Ravens are shaping up in terms of lost coaches, lost players on defense, lost offensive linemen. I still think the Ravens will make the playoffs. I just am slightly lower on them than the Bengals. I think the Bengals are an elite contender. The Steelers and Browns both could make the playoffs if their season goes correctly. A lot of people are fading the Steelers, but I'm not necessarily sure that really makes sense. Even if you think Russell Wilson and Justin Fields aren't very good, are they worse than Mason Rudolph? The offensive line should be better. The defense is absolutely chaotically special. And, they could use more at receiver, but I think that Arthur Smith will figure out a productive running game. So to me, I'm not liking what I'm seeing out of Deshaun Watson. All the reports suggest he hasn't improved. The defense should be really good, but could it be better than last year? It's doubtful. Nick Chubb won't come back for a while. The O-line might miss Callahan as their coach. So the Steelers and the Browns, I feel like could flip-flop, but the Browns maybe have a more talented overall roster, and they do have a good coaching staff. I just think the Steelers just feel more reliable to me. They feel more like Mike Tomlin has this thing about him where he just does not lose a lot of games in a season. They just find a way. So where the Browns feel like they're more of a wild card, more of a X factor, more just divisive. I don't know. They could be up, they could be down, they could be all over.
Browns ownership quarterback scares me. It's Ravens, Bengals. I may revisit this. I'm going to go, listen, Lamar Jackson's health, I trust him to be healthy by week 17, even though he's had injuries more than Joe Burrow. But if Joe Burrow is upright for the entire season, Cincinnati may win this division.
By the way, I'm projecting all these teams to have their quarterbacks healthy. They're probably going to lose players here and there. That's obviously going to happen, but you can't make division predictions and project a quarterback to get hurt. It's not cool.
AFC South, I feel really good about my pick now. I really like the Texans.
Yeah, you figured it out, Colin. Good job. But yeah, the Texans are absolutely the best team in this division by a wide margin, in my opinion. I don't think it's that close. We've talked about the Texans at length. I'm not going to bore you with the same conversation. They have a great coaching staff, which I believe in, and they have CJ Stroud, who I think is already elite. I'll just end it there. Jacksonville, I do think they could make the playoffs. I've been thinking about Jacksonville to make the playoffs. I like Ryan Nielsen on defense. That might be the deciding factor for me. I think the O-line can't be worse than last year. They do have good skill positions. I'm really liking what I'm seeing out of Brian Thomas in the camp reports. So I like the skill positions. I think they're solid. Trevor Lawrence, if he plays like he did in the beginning of 2023, the end of 2022, you've got a borderline top 10 quarterback in that regard. So Jacksonville, if everything goes right for them, they certainly could make the playoffs. There's no doubt. I think the Colts and Titans are kind of like fighting for third place, in my opinion. I think both teams are closer than people think. I think a lot of people are kind of penciling in the Colts as a breakout team or potentially a dark horse, and they're not really doing that with the Titans, which is a little bit odd to me because the Titans did improve their secondary. I do really like their pickups there. I feel like L'Jarius Sneed is really going to help them in the back end. And then offensive line-wise, not only did they improve the unit with draft picks and free agency signings at center and left tackle, but they also improved the receiving core, Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd. They also have two dynamic running backs in Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. Pollard looks kind of back off the Achilles, which the Cowboys might regret letting him walk. Also, they bring in a great offensive line coach, which should help them. Will Levis is a dog, in my opinion. I don't love him as a player. I just feel like he has this mentality, this leadership quality, this edge to him that I really respect and really admire. So I think it could work for him. As long as he can hone in on his accuracy, I think he could be a successful quarterback. So I think Will Levis and Anthony Richardson, they're viewed in different regards. I think it's very possible Will Levis could be better than Anthony Richardson. I don't think that's that crazy to say. I also think it's very possible Tennessee's defense could be better than Indianapolis's. So while the Colts do have probably a better, more proven coach, without a doubt, they do have a better offensive line. They do have some nice pieces on offense. Jonathan Taylor, right? Josh Downs when he's healthy. Michael Pittman. Even Mitchell's flashing in camp. I feel like the Colts definitely, they're there, and a lot of people could project them for third, and I wouldn't really argue it. But I also feel like the Titans are like really close with them. I think that's sort of interchangeable in my opinion. But the other two I do agree with. I do think that like the Titans...
Jaguars, best roster, I believe Trevor Lawrence has had, and he is healthy. I still don't know if Anthony Richardson's style lasts in this league.
I also don't know if Anthony Richardson is good. I know a lot of people don't want to say that, but like, is he good? Do we know that? Like, he can run, he's athletic. Is he good? I'm not even an Anthony Richardson hater. Like, I actually kind of liked him in the draft process. I'm just kind of saying, bro, like, I don't know. Is he good? We don't know. Like, same with Will Levis. Like, they're treated as different prospects, but it's just really odd.
Titans, I don't think, are very good. AFC West, here's the...
So he clearly has the Colts third, I think.
The thing. Kansas City...
So he has the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Broncos, the Raiders, which is what I would have projected him to have. He had the Chargers in the playoffs, I think, the last time he projected his playoff predictions. We'll see if he sticks with that. But the Chiefs in first, obviously. This, in my opinion, is by far the worst division in the AFC. By the way, it's not particularly close, which should allow the Chiefs to at least secure a top 2 seed in the AFC, right? The Chiefs, you don't need to discuss it. They're easily the best team. The Chargers, I don't see it. I think that there's a real possibility the Broncos or the Raiders, and I think the Raiders more likely finish second in this division than a lot of people actually project. I think, especially with the Justin Herbert injury stuff entering the year, it is very, very nerve-wracking. So he hasn't had a lot of time to really work with his receivers. He hasn't had a lot of time to work with this new offense. Right? They've got new offensive linemen in there. Their defense is kind of pathetic. They've got a new defensive coordinator, new defensive scheme. Jim Harbaugh might take some time to really get the roster that he really wants to build for this franchise. So I just think it's a little premature with the Chargers for people thinking they're going to win like 9, 10, 11 games. I think that is too many to expect. I think 6, 7, 8, that sounds about right to me. That could still get them second in this division, though. There's no doubt about it. And if I knew that Herbert was 100% healthy all year, I probably would say the Chargers are going to finish second just because Herbert is a lot better than Bo Nix or Gardner Minshew. And that's point blank, period. And this NFL is a quarterback league. So I would probably project the Chargers second as long as I knew that about Herbert, but it's already nerve-wracking for me. So I like the Raiders. I think they've got the second best defense in this division, and there could be an argument. It could be possible that by the end of the year, they do have the best defense in this division. I think the Chiefs have a chance to fall off a little bit defensively. I do think the Chiefs still do have the best defense, don't get me wrong, but I think the Raiders definitely could have the best defense. Now, I also think the Raiders have the best skill talent out of all the teams, except for the Chiefs. I also think the Raiders have probably the best offensive line, at least on paper, out of all these teams. I think that the only thing that they really don't have is like the coach. I think the coaching for the Chargers and the Broncos is better. And the quarterback position, I'd say it's on par with the Broncos, and it's a lot less than the Chargers. But I think the Raiders are sneaky. I think they're a lot better than people actually think. I think they have a clear identity. They're tough. They're gritty. As long as Gardner Minshew, and the thing about Minshew that I love is he's going to bring his personality to this team, right? He's swaggy. He's got this like country style to him. You know what I mean? Like he's just got this swag that I think the teams always endorse. And I think the fan base will endorse. And I don't think they'll be upset about Aiden O'Connell one bit because Gardner Minshew is a very likable individual. He might not be the best quarterback, but what's great about him is so essential to playing quarterback, which is making your teammates like you and making your teammates play for you and your teammates respecting you. And I think that goes a long way, especially when you're a defensive team that's counting on running the ball. So I think the Raiders could be better than the Broncos just because I don't know how good the Broncos defense is going to be. I do respect Vance Joseph. I think they've got some underrated gems over there. I also don't really know how good their offense is going to be from an either rushing or passing standpoint. Their O-line is okay. The receiving core is pretty underwhelming outside of Cortland Sutton. It is nice that Tim Patrick is showing off and Javonte looks better and Greg Dulcich is healthy. Those things are positives. And again, I'm growing on the Broncos in terms of Bo Nix has looked good. Patrick, Dulcich, Javonte, they look better than last year, right? So there's some pieces that I'm getting excited about here, but it's still like far off from being, a compelling football team that can potentially make a run this year. There's no doubt about that.
Should be better at wide receiver. The Chargers worry me now because Denver, I think, is better, faster with Bo Nix than I thought, and I thought it was going to work. I'm a little
Colin is like the biggest Bo Nix fan on earth.
Worried about Justin Herbert. I got J-Mac in my ear. So my division winners in the AFC remain the Bills, Ravens.
So he's got Bills, Ravens, Texans, Chiefs as division winners, which I don't hate at all. I would say that I would swap the Bengals and the Ravens, but that's probably it for me. Although, East, I think, is probably the most open out of all of them, except for the North, obviously. So I feel like the Chiefs and the Texans are locks. But I feel like the Bills, they definitely could lose this division to the Jets or the Dolphins. I wouldn't be that surprised. I still think the Bills would make the playoffs, though. So he has the Bengals, the Dolphins, and the Jags in the playoffs. So that would mean that the new playoff teams for him would just be Cincinnati and Jacksonville, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So that's interesting. And what I think that Colin is doing here is outside of Herbert, I think he's just taking the best quarterbacks or the quarterbacks that he thinks are the best. So I don't know if it's on purpose, but I do think that's kind of what he's doing, unless maybe you'd have Rodgers ahead of Tua, but I don't know. But, that's not bad. I don't hate this at all. I think this is solid. I probably won't have the Dolphins. I might not have Jacksonville, but there's so many AFC teams. There's the Browns, right? There's the Steelers that could make the playoffs. You can make an argument if things go right for the Colts or the Titans. There's an argument there. Obviously, the Jets aren't in this mix either. So, yeah, there's plenty of AFC teams that could make it that aren't involved here.
Texans, Chiefs. But I'm going to move the Dolphins into the playoffs and the Chargers out because the Dolphins give me things I know. Tua, Waddle, Tyreek, Mike McDaniel, those running backs. Remember, great offenses carry over year to year.
I would actually be kind of intrigued to see what he would have the Jets record at. Because the way he talks about the Dolphins and the way he talks about some of these teams, he doesn't really seem to factor in the Jets like at all. Like at all. So I do kind of wonder if he would have the Jets at like 8-9 or 7-10 or what he would have them at, because he seems to be pretty low on the Jets.
Great defenses don't. There's just too many unknowns now with the Chargers. Herbert's health, their receiving core.
I just think you're totally off base with the Chargers. The Chargers were never in the conversation. I think you were trying to talk yourself into it because they're from LA, but
just don't know. And so I'm going to, for the time being, Chargers last team out, Dolphins are in. In the NFC, I've told you, Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants.
My goodness. Okay, so in the NFC East, he has the Philadelphia Eagles in first place, which I think I would agree with. The Commanders in second, which is insane. The Cowboys in third, and the Giants in fourth. I don't even hate the Giants being in fourth. It's just the Commanders over the Cowboys that I think is outrageous. First of all, I actually like what the Cowboys have done recently. They've made a couple low-key additions. They've signed Linval Joseph, and they've signed Jordan Phillips, two big nose tackle type defensive tackles. And that's one of their biggest weaknesses over the last couple of years, has been the lack of nose tackle. And Jonathan Hankins was in there last year. When he was removed from the mix, they got shredded by the Packers. They were a really bad run defense against the Bills, all that stuff down the stretch, right? So they removed their big nose tackle. They were putrid. But you put that big nose tackle on the field, one of these two guys will contribute. That could give them some depth on the D-line that's much needed. They still have Dak. They still have CD. I'm not worried about that. Brandon Cooks is still there. There's been good reports about Jalen Tolbert. I kind of like Rico Dowdle. So far, Cooper Beebe seems to be playing well in the training camp from what I've heard. I'm not sure about Guyton. I haven't heard much about Guyton. So the offensive line still is a question mark to me, more so than most years, but it is the Cowboys. They should figure that out. Jake Ferguson's a good tight end. Their offense should still be flirting with the top 10. There's no doubt about that. Defensively, I think they're still flirting with the top 10. Especially if they figure out that run defense with that defensive tackle position. They've got two good corners, maybe three, right? Their safeties are solid. Their linebackers are a little bit of a weakness, but Zimmer's coached good defenses. McCarthy has brought this team to 12 wins pretty much every season he's coached. So to me, like, putting the Commanders over them makes no sense. Their O-line is shit. Their defense has no edge rushers. Their corners are not good. Their quarterback has thrown a bunch of screens in the preseason, and all of a sudden people are calling him the next Lamar Jackson and the next Cam Newton. I've literally heard these things. They just traded their number 2 projected receiver, and so you're basically expecting De'Ami Brown to be their number 2 or Luke McCaffrey. They might be relying on a rookie tight end. There's just a lot. I don't love the running backs. Like, there's just nothing I really like about this team outside of it's a rebuild. It's Dan Quinn. Maybe getting the energy up. Maybe the defense will play a little bit better. They do have Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne. I like their linebackers, Frankie Louvu, Bobby Wagner. I like the Jeremy Chin addition. I like some of the things that they've done, but overall, they're just so far away from the playoffs. It's not even funny. I can't even imagine thinking they would make the playoffs. I think it's absolutely insane. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but they don't have the corners to run this operation on defense. They don't have the pass rush to get it done. They don't have the offensive line to protect their young quarterback. They don't have the receivers for their young quarterback to throw to. There's nothing appealing in this situation. This is one of the worst picks I've ever seen a professional commentator make. Maybe this is going to be an absolute clown show of a take by me, but I just think that this is one of the worst. I think the Commanders have more likely a chance of finishing with the first overall pick than they do making the playoffs. Period.
Giants. I think Dallas misses the playoff. I think the Commanders are the shock of the league. I'll get to that in a second.
I'd love to hear your
change,
take.
And it's pretty subtle. Packers, Lions, Bears, Vikings. I'm going to flip Packers and Lions. When the Packers...
Okay, so Packers over Lions. I don't hate this take. I think there's a real chance the Packers defense takes huge steps forward. They have an athletic, deep defensive line that I think is low-key at their best, one of the best in football, if they play the style that Hafley wants to play, which is probably more of a wide nine-esque Robert Saleh type of defense, which I'm looking forward to seeing guys like Kenny Clark and guys like Preston Smith and guys like especially Rashawn Gary playing in this defense. Quay Walker, can he take a step forward? Can their corners be healthy? Can Stokes take a step forward? Xavier McKinney really helps. I know the offense is going to be really good. Really, regardless of who makes the plays, right? Is it Christian Watson? Is it Reed? Is it Wicks? Who cares, right? Romeo Dobbs. I still think they're going to be really good. I think Josh Jacobs is going to help them at the end of the year. I think he's going to allow them to be consistent through their running back position as well, not getting as injured as often as Aaron Jones. So I think the Packers could very easily win this division. I think that is very real. And I might actually even pick that at the end of the day. But I do also love the Lions because I feel like the Lions they feel more of a well-known quantity. I understand. I think that's what the saying would be, quantity. They feel like a more well-known, I know what they're going to be type of team. They feel like, right, elite offensive line. I know what Jared Goff is. I know what Amon-Ra is. I feel like they still got young guys that, yes, the Packers, they've got a lot of young guys that people are looking forward to breaking out. But what about like Jahmyr Gibbs in year 2? What about Sam Laporta in year 2? What about Brian Branch in year 2? What about Aiden Hutchinson in year 3 or whatever? What about Jack Campbell, getting better? What about all these guys that they have, Melon Fonwu, progressing? Terrion Arnold is young. It's not like the Lions are an old team that's stale, that's regressing. Jamison Williams could get better. There's a lot of aspects of the Lions that could also progress, right? Maybe some of it regresses in terms of maybe they go for it too much on 4th down, and this time it backfires instead of, it works out for them, and maybe Dan Campbell hurts them in a couple games or things like that, or maybe some of their old offensive linemen on the inside get hurt and banged up, and that hurts their offensive line. Maybe, Jahmyr Gibbs has a serious hamstring thing going on, or the defense, maybe Carlton Davis, that pickup doesn't work out the way that we think it might, but there's definitely things that could happen. But to me, like, the Packers definitely have a lot of things that could happen, but also a lot of things that might just not happen, right? So we've seen this with the Packers before, especially their defense. Chicago at 3, Vikings at 4. Don't have any arguments about that one.
Packers played the Lions the second time, and Jordan Love had experience. They beat Detroit.
I will say I'm rising on the Bears just in terms of, like, the Bears could make the playoffs. They could.
I know the Lions have a better offensive line. The depth of offensive talent and the coaching and the quarterback mobility of Green Bay is better. I'm going to go with a young, ascending team. In my opinion, the better head coach, the better quarterback talent, and a loaded, stacked roster of receivers.
That's interesting because he loves Jared Goff. So saying that Jordan Love's more talented, maybe that's his way of getting around that, but
receiver and tight end talent. Lions still make the playoffs. Bears are going to be exciting, but it's a hell of a division. Vikings, the best 4th place team in the league. NFC South, I think Atlanta's going to run away with it. I think Atlanta's going to win potentially 12 to 13 games.
Wow. 12 to 13. I thought I was rising on this team, bro. 12 to 13 is crazy. Crazy. But man, I guess it could happen, but like I think they'll win like 10 or 11. I think they'll win like 10 or 11 now. I do like the improvements that they've made on defense. That's for sure. Justin Simmons, Matt Judon, those are 2 of my boys. I like it. I like it a lot. I mean, Simmons and Bates, that's going to be fun. Judon certainly helps their biggest weakness. Their O-line is good. Kirk Cousins seems okay right now. We'll see. The product. Somebody that I think people are sleeping on a little bit is Darnell Mooney. I really like that addition. I think he's really going to help this offense be their pure number 2 receiver behind Drake London. Kyle Pitts hopefully can get his head out of his rear end. Bijan's an absolute stud. The interior D-line solid. Raheem Morris, good defensive coach. We'll see what he is as a head coach. We'll see what Zach Robinson brings to the offense. I do have the Falcons winning this division now. I am settled there. Now, Tampa, I do agree. They're second. The Panthers third. I could buy it. I could see it, but I think the Saints have a lot more talent, so I'm still leaning towards the Saints, at least in terms of their defense. Now, I might be wrong. Like, the one area that could really hurt the Saints, that could make them last in this division, is their offensive line. And that's the area where the Panthers could really progress, is their offensive line by signing Robert Hunt, Damian Lewis, and those guys, right? Aquanu could get better. So if the Panthers do finish third, which is very reasonable and could definitely happen, it's because I think their O-line plays better than the Saints. I think that would be my reasoning behind it. I honestly wouldn't even be shocked if the Bucs finished last. I wouldn't be shocked if the Bucs finished first. So I wouldn't be shocked if the Bucs finish third. I do see it as the Falcons, the Bucs, and then a battle for last or third, depending on how you see it. But that's kind of my opinion.
I really like Atlanta. I say that being lighter in the wallet my entire adult life on Falcons games. Bucs are good, not as good as Atlanta. Panthers are going to be fun to watch. Much better at wide receiver. Still third.
Fun to watch. That might be going too far.
Saints will be a mess. I think they're the first team to fire their coach. And in the NFC West, I said last year, I think they're leading.
Oh, bro. How many positions do the Rams have that are better than the Niners? Like 2? Maybe? What is with the Niners hate? This guy hates the Niners, bro. I just don't understand why he hates the Niners so much. Literally, the Niners own the Rams. They own them. They own them. They stole their lunch money. The Rams are trying to replace their defensive coordinator and their best player in franchise history. The 49ers have probably gotten better, and they just had a great draft, and all their players in the draft are basically showing out, except for Ricky Pearsall, who's been injured. But man, it appears that Brandon Ayuk will be back. They still got, one of the best linebackers in the league. I ranked him number 2, Fred Warner. They got Nick Bosa. They got Trent Williams coming back. Don't worry about it. He's good without a training camp. I'm not worried. Christian McCaffrey, right? Deebo Samuel, who's a dog. Like, the D-line is really good, really deep. The secondary is probably better this year. I could see the Niners, like, maybe this division is a little bit more competitive than last year, for sure. But I just don't see it with the Rams at that level. I think they'll be good, but man, you need like Kupp to stay healthy and be better than last year. You need Stafford to stay healthy, which is the offensive line. Can it stay healthy? It's already injured. Kyron Williams, I liked a lot of their offense. There's no doubt I liked the Parkinson addition, the Jonah Jackson addition. Corum is a decent backup, hopefully. The defense, though, like, it could be underrated or it could be on the rise, but to expect it to be, like, even top half of the league, I think is too much, in my opinion, especially considering they don't have a well-known, well-regarded defensive coordinator. They're just very young on defense. It's just very hard for me to project them being better than the Niners, who are a Super Bowl contender. The Seahawks, I think, could be better than the Rams. And the only reason I might not go that far is because the Rams have a better coach and a better quarterback. But at the end of the day, the Seahawks have a very talented roster. Their defense, I think, is low-key really, really fitting Mike McDonald's defense. I love their interior defensive line. I think their linebackers are solid with Baker and Dodson. I like their corners with Woolen and my guy there in the nickel spot, Witherspoon. I think that their offense could be way better this year with all the receivers they have, hopefully an improved offensive line. Kenneth Walker could be a breakout player. I think the Seahawks can make the playoffs. I think the Seahawks could be better than the Rams. I think they could. So for him to have the Rams in first, I just totally disagree. I do agree with the Cardinals in fourth. I see no chance for the Cardinals to win this division. I see no opportunity for the Cardinals to be like an above average team. I think they could be decent, like competitive. That means like 7 wins, 8 wins. But I don't see them winning like 11, 10 games. I don't see that. The Niners, the Rams, the Seahawks, I think are all going to compete for playoff spots. I really do. So the Niners are, I just don't understand this. Like, this guy's a hater, bro.
Leaning too much on McCaffrey. What's the situation on Brandon Ayuk? Will Trent Williams...
Again, leaning too much on McCaffrey. They won games before McCaffrey was there. Jordan Mason's a good running back. Elijah Mitchell has played well for this team. They've got running backs. They drafted another running back. He's the 4th string guy. They'll be fine regardless. Brandon Ayuk, the update is that he's probably going to be there. That's a fair, reasonable take to suggest that, okay, what's going on with him? But at the same time, if you've been paying attention, it feels like he's going to be back. Unless all of a sudden the Commanders make some crazy offer. Right. Trent Williams, again, if you listen to beat reporters, he should be there. He doesn't need a training camp. He's Trent Williams. Like, the questions are just dumb. I just don't understand it.
Williams be ready. I think the Jets could beat him in week 1. I think they pull.
The Jets are going to beat them in week 1 in San Francisco with Aaron Rodgers never playing with this offense in the entire preseason. I just don't see that. That's unreasonable. Look at the coaching difference. I think this is disrespectful to Kyle Shanahan. This is 100% disrespectful to Kyle Shanahan. Expecting his team not to be ready in week 1 is insane.
Back a little. I think they have peaked physically. They'll be good. They won't be as special. Seahawks, I think, are interesting. A bit of a...
What about the Rams makes you believe they'll be better than the Niners, though? And again, like, Rams fans are going to think I'm a hater of their team. It's not even that. It's just that I see the Niners as a contender. I just don't understand this take. And then on top of that, I just bought a Rams shirt, bro. I'll be wearing it. Like, I like the Rams. I have no problem with the Rams. It makes me feel like I'm a hater here, but it's stupid. It's just stupid.
Mystery team to me, Arizona 4. So in the division winner category, Eagles, Packers.
Okay. So he has the Eagles, the Packers, the Falcons, and the Rams as division winners. The only one I strongly disagree with is the Rams. The Commanders being in the playoffs is one of the worst takes I've ever seen in my life. The 49ers and the Lions as wild cards feels a little weird, but at least they're in the playoffs. So that means no Cowboys, no Bears, no Bucks, no Seahawks in the playoffs. Those would be the teams that probably majority of people might have in the playoffs.
Lions, Commanders, Niners are the wild card teams. I'm just going to take a little younger team in Green Bay. I like everything about where Green Bay is going right now.
The Green Bay take is not a bad take at all.
I think they have a history of winning, and I think Detroit doesn't. And now Detroit's gone from the hunter to the hunted, and I'm not sure how they're going to deal with that. They've never been that. Now, even last year, they were the hunter. Now the Lions are the hunted.
There it is, guys. Colin Cowherd's predictions for 2024. If you enjoyed, don't forget to Gronk spike the like button. 100 likes for my predictions, division winners, standings, and playoff teams for 2024. Thank you for watching. It's Mitch. Peace.